We are about to launch on Facebook. Processing. So, minutes away. All right, hello everyone. Meteorologist Carly Smith here. We are back and joined now with Texas Department of Safety PIO officer. It's Sergeant Robert Mallory. Thank you so much for joining us. We understand, well, I've been tracking all the rain this morning, but we understand that there are several roads and highways in the area that are flooded. So what have you been seeing out there on the roads?
Want to slow down as they're driving through this rain. If they come to those areas and they've been barricaded, yeah, don't go through them. We say turn around, don't drown. And if they're getting ready to head out on the road, the best thing they can do is check the drivetexas.org to look for those road closures so they can plan alternate.
Drive Texas I use that all the time, whether it's flood or in the winter, snow and ice. But yeah, it always shows where the road closures are. There's cameras too that you can check out. What kind of safety tips do you have for people if they do get out on the road and come across something that may be flooded?
Right now is to go ahead and reduce your speed. Give yourself more time to reach your destination, whether that be work or an event or just trying to get back home. Just give yourself a little bit extra time. Be patient. Go a little bit slower because the roads are going to be slick with the rain. And if you do come across those areas that have been barricaded or closed off, look for those alternate routes. Definitely do not go around the barricades. You're putting yourself and other first responders at risk, and that's definitely not a good thing.
Have you heard from anyone out in the field, places that are flooded? Obviously, we have the Leopard Street area across MPID up there south of I-37, and we've got areas through the Chapman Ranch area. What are some of these roads looking like?
Yeah, all the way out to Bishop is blue right now, showing flooding conditions on the road. The I-37 interchange, as you mentioned, is also showing flooding. And then obviously there are places inside the city limits as well where there's some flooding on the roadways too. So again, it's just really important. If you're not on the roadway yet, you can always check that drivetexas.org and see where everything is at. But just be aware that that may change as you go. So when you start seeing those barricades pop up, that's the sign that we need to find an alternate route.
Yeah, definitely. Alternate routes are key, planning ahead of time. This has obviously been a ton of rainfall. We saw more than 10 inches of rain falling over the island. We've seen 1 to 4 inches of rain across Corpus Christi. So it's been a lot of rain for sure. And I guess any more advice that you can give, I guess, in terms of, hydroplaning and how to handle a situation like that?
Make sure we've got good tread depths because that will help if we do encounter spots with water on the road. But if you do find yourself in a situation where you start to hydroplane, just go ahead and ease off that accelerator and apply gentle pressure to your brakes. You don't want to slam on your brakes and just, let your car slow itself down naturally rather than trying to come to a stop immediately.
Have you had any or heard anything about accidents that have happened? Is there a running count yet, or how have those reports been?
Of a heavy rainfall very quickly, we are going to see a lot of those single vehicle hydroplane type accidents, along with coming to a complete stop or being able to stop in time to avoid striking a vehicle in front of them. But I don't have a number of crashes that our troopers have worked so far today, but I'm sure they have worked several.
We really just want everyone to stay safe out there. So is there anything else you would like to add?
Sometimes the best thing to do is just stay home and enjoy the day inside. But if you do have to get out there again, give yourself that extra time, reduce your speed on the roadway, check that drivetexas.org and make sure, to confirm your route is good to go. And that way you can make an adjustment if you need to before you even leave the house or your work.
Yeah, and again, just for so everyone's aware, the flash flood warnings for North and West Corpus Christi and Padre Island and Port Aransas, all of those are until 12:30. There is a chance they could be extended, but the rain should start to at least weaken heading into the late afternoon and the evening hours. So hopefully driving gets easier for everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, Sergeant Rob Mallory, and we look forward to talking to you again, hopefully not when there's a chance for accidents on the roadway. Here's one last look at our radar where we are tracking the flood warnings that are in place. So there's a flood advisory for all of Corpus Christi and a new flood advisory that has been issued for Kingsville, Rivera, as well as areas across, it looks like, County now included in that also. So Alice is not seeing a ton of rain. Orange Grove is seeing some spotty rain showers, but Kingsville, Fremont, Falfurrias, Rivera, areas along 281 are now getting in on some heavy rainfall. We're seeing the red showing up between Fremont and Falfurrias. Falfurrias not in a flood advisory. Now, a flood advisory is not as extreme as a flood warning. A flash flood warning means that there is flooding already taking place or it is imminent. A flood advisory means we've seen a lot of rain and there's a chance that there is going to be some locations with some flooding. So this is one last look at the radar. The flood warning, flash flood warning, is until 12:30. For both the north and western portion of Corpus Christi. This does include areas such as McNorton, Clarkwood, and then right along I-37. It does include North Beach as well. So the aquarium and all of those locations are in this flash flood warning, as well as downtown Corpus Christi. Areas along Ocean Drive up to, let's see what this road is. It is very small print, but it looks like up to Ropes Road. And so Staples is included in this just up to, it looks like Weber. So Everhart is not in the flash flood warning, but it is in a flood advisory. And then on the island, all of Padre Island, where the canals are and the neighborhoods and the beaches, all the way up toward Port Aransas on Mustang Island, is also in a flash flood warning until 12:30. So 12:30 is when these warnings are in place. We finally have some at least light rain falling over the island, but we will continue to be watching all of this that's through Kingsville, Fremont, Falfurrias, Rivera, because that is still slowly drifting a little south, but also it's being pushed to the northeast at the same time up toward Houston. And so we're going to continue to see this rain into at least the early part of the afternoon, if not later. So we do have an update from Drive Texas also that is showing where the road is closed on a portion of Padre Island. So that is going to be Padre Island from Whitecap to the entrance of Padre Bali Park. So that is both of the main entrances where Bob Hall Pier once was, and then Whitecap Those are both two major entrances into the beach, but that's not the issue. The beach is not necessarily the issue, except I'm sure it's a flooded mess as well. The issue is on Park Road 22, and businesses there, you're not going to be able to get to them. Neighborhoods, if you can drive to Whitecap to turn left onto Park Road 22, that's going to be your better shot at getting off the island. But it's best just to stay home at this point. Keep working from home if you can, because we still are anticipating more rain in the area. So again, Drive Texas is a great site to look at where the flooding is. This is the flooding that is on North Padre Island Drive. So this is just when you exit Interstate 37 to head south toward Southside and the beach, essentially. That right there at Leopard Street, there's flooding. We have some video, or we're working on getting video of cars that have been submerged under water in this location right here at Leopard and NPID. So this is where an area you definitely want to avoid. Stalling out a car, even just stalling out a car, not even getting immersed and feeling trapped in the situation, but stalling out a car is not fun, and it is dangerous, and then you have to deal with fixing it and towing it and all of those things. So staying home is really the best thing to do. And this is why we've had the weather impact days in place, is because of the risk of flooding and road closures. And now that we've seen rain, at least off and on, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're now on Thursday, and we're seeing some of the heaviest rain we've seen all week, and it's quickly leading to this flooding risk. Bishop to Corpus Christi through Chapman Ranch, that's the other area on Drive Texas that we have seen with road closures. I think I just got an update. Okay, it's just they're continuing the flash flood warning for our locations until 12:30 from the National Weather Service, so they're still continuing it. Lots of the areas with poor drainage in Corpus Christi, so you all know where these locations are. Normal poor drainage areas in Corpus Christi, there is water on the roadway in those locations. So water on the roadway in locations with poor drainage that you're familiar with, that is going to continue. If we can go to the radar, we can take a look around there and look at some of the images that we got this morning, also off of Padre Island. So this was at Park Road 22. Since this has happened, so that was this morning, just about 8:30. Since 8:30, so we can do just an hour of rain. Padre Island over the last hour has continued to accumulate 2 inches. So that's 10 to 11. Let me extend this. So we can do the last 3 hours. So now this is the last. Hold on, let me actually make it more official. So since 8:30 a.m., 7:25 at 8:30, this is how much rain. So this is rain that has fallen 7.2 inches has fallen from all along Padre Island, anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7 inches of rain over the last 3 hours. Okay, I do have this, so I'm not sure. This might be from midnight. Let's do now. And then let's do 10 a.m. Set from a specific date and time. Anyway, regardless, a lot of rain has fallen. So this is just over the last 24 hours, you can see just how much rain has fallen over the island and why that area is seeing so much rain. But also right here, this triangle from 358 and 286 and I-37 has seen 2 to 3 inches of rainfall over the last 24 hours. So a lot of rain has fallen, a lot of rain is going to continue to fall. And the biggest positive thing I can add to this update is that at least on the island we're starting to see some light rain, but there's still heavy rain developing from Kingsville to Fremont to Falfurrias. And so that area has been added to a flood advisory. And what that flood advisory means is this is all for flood advisory until 1 p.m. this afternoon. Flooding caused by excessive rainfall. It does include a portion of Jim Wells County, so this is south of Alice, this is including Fremont, and Clayburgh County, all of Clayburgh County, so that includes Kingsville, Bishop, and into Nueces County, southern Nueces County, so this is south of Petronila that we are dealing with that. But here is, wow, we are going to now go to the footage that our photographer, Luke Preston, gathered this footage out at Leopard Street and 358, where the car is completely underwater. Car is now stopping and having to go around that. But that is the most rainfall I have seen accumulate in Corpus Christi since that's really about 2.5 years. So I know we've seen other instances with heavy rainfall, but to see a car completely underwater like that is wild and just shows how quickly the water can rise. That area didn't even see the highest rainfall. North Padre Island, all the south and north get tongue twisted when you're doing live updates, but North Padre Island, just the amount of rain they saw, it was 10 plus inches by 9 o'clock. Now we're at the 10 o'clock hour and we've added 1 to 5 inches for Corpus Christi. This right here, that's a road, that's not a river that is going under there. So that is really, just shows how quickly things can flood. So what we are looking at, I'm gonna look a little bit closer. Is this Leopard or is this 358 that the car is on? So the car is on 358 and Leopard goes over 358 now. So you see the traffic also backed up. People are exiting and that truck stopping and hopefully deciding not to go through that. So this is the actual highway. I drive this all the time. The car is completely underwater. So that looks like a sedan. So it doesn't look like an SUV, but still, just to see how high that water is. But it is going under the bridge. That is Leopard Street, and below Leopard Street is 358, and that is a car under the water. So do we know if anybody was in the car or? Okay, so it sounds like who was in the car was able to work their way out of the car before the water got this high. So that is good news to hear, but that is still very impressive video, an unfortunate video. I mean, it's causing backup, it's causing delays, but that's why flash flood warnings are issued, is to alert you that this is possible, and it's best to just not drive when a flash flood warning is issued, because it's really, really difficult to forecast exactly where something like this might happen, right? So we know where the heaviest rain has fallen, we know things like that, but we don't always know exactly. We don't always know exactly where it's going to escalate to this level. So this is 11:26, the rainfall, and then you see it since, or no, this is the current time. So you see 3 hours ago, Corpus Christi starts at 0 from 3 hours, and then we add over the next 3 hours. So this was 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, all of this rain, where this area that we were just showing you, the area, radar has estimated 2.8 inches of rainfall in 3 hours where Leopard Street is at 358. So 358 and Leopard Street, radar is estimated at least 2.8 inches. That fell very quickly, very fast, and that water just, the place it found to go was underneath Leopard, unfortunately. So very high in rainfall amounts, rain still falling here in the coastal bend. And it is, so I'm gonna zoom out and look at the satellite radar imagery so we can get a bigger picture view of what's going on. So we have this, we have all of the rainfall really concentrated along the Texas coast. And what started as a stationary boundary has now transitioned to essentially a low pressure trough, and there's a center of this low that is hanging out. I don't have the low icon saved, but there's a center of the low. You can kind of see the rotation going on. The low was right over Corpus Christi this morning, but it's been slowly drifting to the north and east. But now we're starting, what was being pulled by the northward flow is also starting to tap into the southward flow, or the flow from the north to the south, that's starting to push that rain a little bit more into the coastal bend. So this is the area I'm trying to figure out, where is this rain going to go, right? So everything was moving to the northeast. Now we're getting a little bit of a southward push that's going to keep a little bit of rain in the area, at least for the next 2 hours. Reminder, the flash flood warning is until 12:30. So we have a flash flood warning until 12:30. We have flood advisories until noon and 1 p.m. And that is for this whole entire area from Kingsville to Rivera to Fremont and just north of Falfurrias. That is that's for minor flooding in low-lying and poor drainage areas. And when you get the flash flood warning, which is what is taking place in Corpus Christi right now, especially at Leopard Street, that is the flash flood warning of flash flooding, which happens quickly. That's what happened at Leopard. Small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, and underpasses, as well as other poor drainage and low-lying areas. Some locations that will experience the flash flooding does include Corpus Christi International Airport, Del Mar College, Windward Campus, Del Mar College Heritage Campus, downtown Corpus Christi, Cole Park, Corpus Christi North Beach, Driscoll Children's Hospital, and Toloso. So don't turn around and don't drown. And so if you see water that, especially on streets, it's hard on highways and interstates because they don't have curbs. But on streets, my best advice is if you cannot see the curb. So if you're driving and all of a sudden there's water and then you don't know where the curb ends, then don't drive on that street. But of course, in rural areas, on Padre Island, on State Road, Park Road 22, you don't have curbs, you just have these ditches. And so that makes it really dangerous because of the way once the water is covering the drainage ditch and the road, you don't know where you're going. But here is another image. This is McCoy's Boating Supply on NPID. So it's the Boating Supply building. Building supply. We need a boat right now. Yeah. Building supply, McCoy's Building Supply on NPID, where there have been both a UPS truck and a postal UPS or United States Postal Services truck that have stalled, essentially, driving through the water. this is just before Leopard, where we saw the car submerged underwater completely on MPID. So this image is from Destin Garcia, who sent it in here to KIII 3 News, and this is a great view. So a great way to, do we have the number that people can text us photos? So 855-6397 is the way you can send in photos, and then we can share them, whether it's on this live stream or coming up on 3 News today at 5 and also at 6. We will be live on TV, of course, for 3 News at 5 and 6, but this is some of the worst flooding that we have seen. Vehicles are stalling, large profile vehicles with the height there that typically clears high water, getting stalled as well. So this is really heavy rainfall, and it's still happening, and that's why we have flash flood warnings that are in place. So these are rainfall totals from early on this morning. I'm going to try to look up, well, that's wind speeds, that's the wrong one. This is from Alberto, I think, actually. Here is our highest rain, but they're both showing wind. Anyway, we'll forget about that. Right now, let's go back to radar, where we can take a look at the estimated rainfall over the last 24 hours, which we've gotten a lot more rain from Benavides to Hebbronville. The watershed has missed out on the rain this time around, but we saw a lot of rain there earlier in the week. So when we were kind of like, where's our rainfall? It was all to our north, and now the rain has fallen to our south. So I'm going to look up some of these rainfall totals. But where you're seeing the orange and the pink, that is where we are at least 5, 6, all the way up to 10 inches of rainfall. The blue is closer to 1 inch, and the green is around a 1/2 inch or less of rainfall there.
Something in Miller High School.
Here's some more flooding that is from Miller High School, where cars are trying to drive through the intersection. The difference, the high profile, the trucks making it through, whereas cars will probably have a much more difficult time driving through it. But again, if you can't see the curb, or where a lawn ends and a road begins, that is a sign not to be out driving in these conditions. Because you don't know where the road is, you already know if there is there or not. Of course, if that's your neighborhood, then you know it better than the other person. There is the water, or the fire hydrant that is almost all the way submerged. So as we continue to see rain, if the water rises anymore and you can't see the fire hydrant, you can usually crash into that. So that's why we say turn around and don't down, because you never know what you're supposed to be driving into or driving through in flooding situations like this. And then obviously, worst case scenario, your car gets completely submerged. And that's what we've seen here. Again, this is one of our major highways. This is North Padre Island Drive. So this is right at Leopard Street or North Padre Island Drive, with I-1 and it is completely flooded under Leopard Street. It is closed. Drive Texas shows where the roads are closed. So this is showing you, anytime you see the blue on the Drive Texas map, when you first open it, you'll probably see a lot of orange. That's all construction. I always turn the construction off. So when I'm looking up weather updates, so that it doesn't distract you, because there's always a lot of orange. This is Texas, of course. There's all the orange. That's just construction. Doesn't mean the road is closed, doesn't mean there's any abnormal issues on the road. But when you turn the construction off, then the blues stand out more, and you see where there's the closure at Leopard Street, there's the closure on Park Road 22. So basically, the very start of Highway 358 and the very end of Highway 358 are both underwater. And in between, there's a chance for some flooding, and that's why we have flood advisories and flash flood warnings in place. The other blue, that is going to be the route from Chapman Ranch through to Bishop. So that is Crosstown, where it connects with, I don't remember the name of that road off the top of my head, but basically where Crosstown ends and you turn right to head to Bishop is exactly where that is closed. That whole way is closed. And I have a lot of friends that travel that route daily. One of our reporters, Madeline Salinas, travels that route daily. And so it becomes dangerous very easily in the rain just because of the pavement type. And then you add in abundant rain and it floods very, very easily and becomes dangerous. So it is just closed all the way through. But Drive Texas, it is the best way to get any updates. Major crashes that shut down a highway or an interstate, they would show up on Drive Texas, which thankfully we're not seeing any closures because of that. But we are seeing that because of flooding. So I'm going to go through some of our National Weather Service reports. We've got Department of Highways reports a flash flood on North Beach. Numerous roads closed along North Beach due to flooding. We have public flash flood reports from Highway 358. That's where we are with the car that is completely submerged underwater. We have 3 miles southwest of Ingleside. Rainfall totals up to 4.25 inches, ponding on the road. We have public reports, normal poor drainage areas flooded in Corpus Christi. We have a flash flooding report, again, from Port Aransas all the way down to Padre Island. Okay, here are some rainfall totals from the National Weather Service. We have North Padre Island, which I had this one on the graphic that I thought that I had made, but didn't. 10.38 inches. 10.38 inches, that was at 8:45 a.m. So more rain has fallen since then. Flower Bluff, 8.24 inches of rain. That is at near the Naval Air Station. Elsewhere in Flower Bluff, we've gotten 8.15 inches of rain, 6.95 inches of rain, 6.64 inches of rain, and 5.06 inches of rain. Aransas Pass, we haven't talked about that side of town very much, but you flood very easily out that direction. So Aransas Pass has seen 3.5 inches of rain. Flower Bluff has seen 3.01 inches of rain. And another report from Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, 2.34 inches of rain. So these are all rainfall that occurred within 6 hours. So 10.38 inches of rain fell in 6 hours out on Padre Island. Another report out of Nueces Mesonet, 8.24 inches of rain. 8.24 inches of rain. 3.5 inches of rainfall fell out at Aransas Pass. 3 inches of rain at Flower Bluff. So these are reports to the National Weather Service. Some of the rain that has been offshore does have the potential of producing some water spouts. I think most of that has passed as we're just getting with light rainfall now. The current areas that are seeing the heaviest rain, Orange Grove, now seeing some of that heavier rain from Sandia to Orange Grove. to Alfred, to Alice, not quite yet. But if this storm does continue, it is moving from the south to the north, you're going to get in on some of that rainfall. So we are now starting to see, I think instead of everything moving, we still have some northeast movement and we still have some south movement. So we're still under the influence of that meso low. I am working on changing the satellite. I want to look at the water vapor image. I'm going to turn the radar off. I'm going to change the color table of this radar image, or satellite imagery. Yeah, we'll take a look at the Padre Island video. So this is going to be Reno Bear on Padre Island. This looks like it might be around Padre Body. It's hard to tell though. That looks like it might be the seashore academy. Low-lying area at the median, typically where water fills. So if you don't turn in the right spot, or you start to turn too early, you could wind up in a bit of higher water than anticipated as you fall more into a ditch. But yeah, so now we're looking at the higher levels of the, I'm at the same time now, I'm looking at the higher levels of the atmosphere where we're looking at the concentration of water vapor. And so overall, there is still an overall push of the moisture north toward Houston. But there is new convection that is starting up here to the south, so south of Hebronville and through Falfurrias and Kingsville and all of this area. And at the surface level, some of that is from winds that are moving from the north to the south that's mixing with this air and helping create new thunderstorms. And so all of this moisture is going to push north and continue to push north toward Houston and Galveston eventually. But we are still in the heat of it with heavy rainfall through Falfurrias, Hebronville, and Brooks County, Duval, southern Duval County, southern Jim Wells County, but Orange Grove now starting to get in on the thunderstorm that is going to track along 359 toward Alice. So Alice, we've got an outflow boundary that has popped up here near Alice, and so that shows that this storm had an updraft and it is now weakened, and that could produce a thunderstorm over Alice. We'll keep a close eye on that. But the current time is 11:44 a.m. So it's 11:44 a.m. I'm meteorologist Carly Smith, and we have several flash flood warnings and flood advisories across the coastal bend. Here are some of the storm reports. So this is helpful. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. So right here, 3 inches. These are all the reports I just mentioned out loud, 5 inches. So let's zoom in to Padre Island and see. I don't know why they're not coming on. Okay, so this is the report right here that's for 10 inches. And these are the flooding reports right here. The top right one, that's the flooding report for Bali Park, and this is another report, which is on south of Bali Park. I think that's Sea Pines in that neighborhood area is where we're also seeing a report of flooding. But all of these are the very high rainfall rate reports. These are flooding reports. There are reports of flooding on North Beach. I wanted to turn this camera around and I forgot, but here's the dreary view of downtown Corpus Christi. It'd be interesting to see what North Beach looks like. Here are some of the photos that we have from Park Road 22 from our photographer Jeremy Landers during some of the heaviest rainfall on Padre Island. Again, these street signs, there's drainage ditches that are near these street signs, and you have no idea where these are. Driving in a condition like this is fairly safe if you have a vehicle like this truck, but you're still getting water all over the car, and if it gets any higher or you accidentally turn into one of those ditches that you can't see, then you're gonna be in trouble before you know it. So this is our flash flood warning. Again, this is the flash flood warning. It does look like some lighter rain is falling in the Corpus Christi area. We're right by the airport, so this is the airport, and this circle you're seeing, this dome, is the radar. It scans out, it doesn't scan up. We would not see anything if the radar scanned up. So it's scanning out so we can get this nice wide view and see all of the rain that is falling. So things are starting to at least weaken a bit over Corpus Christi and Padre Island. We are seeing the overall push in the upper levels of the atmosphere that's taking the rain from the southeast, from the southwest to the northeast. So the push is still in the upper levels of the atmosphere toward Houston, but we do have some little rotation that's keeping a lot of the rain and the convection right in the Kingsville area right now. So Kingsville to Fremont to Rivera, you're not under a flash flood warning, but you aren't under a flood advisory, which means it could quickly and easily flood between now and 1 p.m. So 1 p.m. is how long this flood advisory is for the Kingsville area. This area has seen 2 to 4 inches of rain, and 1 to 2 inches of additional rainfall are going to be likely. Areas that may experience or have the potential to experience some flooding include Kingsville, Fremont, Bishop, the Naval Air Station, Kingsville, Ricardo, Rivera, Rivera Beach, La Gloria, Petronila, Loyola Beach, and Chapman Ranch. And we've talked about Chapman Ranch, where right here, so this is 286, and right at Chapman Ranch, you turn right on FM 70, Farm to Market Road 70. That's closed. Don't even try to go that way. It's closed, and it will stay closed. And so this is the heavy rainfall we have talked about. This is the heaviest rainfall we have seen all week. And this is a flood advisory highlighted in green for Kingsville, Rivera, and Falfurrias. For Corpus Christi, we have North Beach, downtown Corpus Christi, Leopard Street at Highway 358, underwater. All of these locations, areas that tend to flood, if you're from that area, if your neighborhood is over here and you know an area floods, it's likely flooded. So North Beach has been dealing with some flooding. This flash flood warning is until 12:30. Padre Island all the way to Port Aransas, but Padre Island really got the brunt of this system, has seen heavy rainfall, and now it's lighter rainfall, but that is going to continue until this flash flood warning is until 12:30. So we are about 40 minutes away from seeing if the National Weather Service will continue with this flash flood warning or allow them to expire and maybe put out a flood advisory. But there's still a lot of water on the roadways in those locations that are under the flash flood warning, a lot of water. And this, I'm gonna add more time to the radar so I can do a little analyzing live. But there was our meso low, and there's the stationary. There's a trough. So there's a boundary that is right through here. I didn't mean to use the arrow. So don't think that it's pointing that's the direction that things are moving. But there's a boundary right in here that develops as the low moves away, and that's what's keeping rain in the area. So we're going to continue to see rain through Kingsville, Rivera. I'm going to show you Futurecast. So on Futurecast, what we are going to see is still some rain trying to hang out there across Corpus Christi, and then it is going, Futurecast is still holding on to hope that this is going to taper off, and we're going to get a break in the rain around 5 p.m. this evening. And I see that. So what this is showing So right here is where our low is. And then think of this as a stationary boundary associated with that low. The low is going to move north, and we're still going to be under the influence of this boundary. And there's also more energy that's going to come up out of the south, and that's what's going to help bring us our rain opportunity into Friday. And so the boundary almost sets up like right in here still. The low is way over here, but we still see rain, scattered, but rain heading into Friday. Okay, so a lot of people are asking about the flooded roads. The only roadways that we know that are flooded at this point in time are on Drive, Texas, and that is going to be a road right over here. So 358 is underwater where it goes under Leopard Street. 358 is underwater, completely underwater. Do not drive in this area under Leopard Street. The other roads that are closed due to flooding is going to be right here, 286 to Chapman Ranch, and then Chapman Ranch on Farm to Market 70 to Bishop. That road is completely closed. The other road closed is Park Road 22, which is also SPID. So we have the beginning of SPID and the end of SPID. Park Road 22, right at the entrance where Bob Hall Pier is, so Padre Bali Park to Whitecap. So Whitecap is right here, Padre Bali Park is down here, and this area is closed due to flooding. There are several restaurants in this area, several restaurants. A new restaurant, I think the diner on the island is right there. So we have Padre Bali Park. There's a self-storage area that is on that road. There's the Seashore Learning Center. There is Beach Bum Cart Sales. There's CrossFit, Padre Island CrossFit. There is Angry Marlin. So the Angry Marlin is on this road that is closed. The new Captain's Diner is on this road that is closed. Island Counseling is on the road that is closed. Seashore Middle Academy. Additionally, the Island Market, Hard Knocks, Dollar General, Island Italian, La Palmera, all of these businesses are on the road that is closed there at Padre Island, on Padre Island. So a lot of rain is falling. A lot of rain is still falling, but it's not as heavy as it was this morning. And I think that's the big takeaway. I'm going to go back to Facebook and see what some of you are saying. Thank you for clearing that up for us. Again, there could be other roads that are dealing with water on the roadway. I know there have been reports that typical locations that flood in Corpus Christi are flooded, but they're not flooded enough for them to be closed, at least not at this point. The best way to check road conditions is to Google Drive Texas, and the first one is from Texas Department of Transportation, and that is where you will click. 2 1/4 of an inch on Flower Bluff and Yorktown. Terry Tiller says, my street is flooded. Yeah, Leopard is not a good street at this point. That whole area is dealing with flooding. Is it going to be raining in the evening hours? Latest forecast from Futurecast. So what we are seeing let's go to this one. Okay, so I'm gonna try to change this to where it's the latest update of the latest model run so we get the most accurate information there is. So there's still indication that about 4 p.m., so 4 p.m., we should see some clearing. Now, there is still going to be scattered activity. It's not going to be completely dry until later into the evening, about 8 p.m. So 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., we'll see the activity starting to die down and decrease in intensity. And it will become more scattered to isolated, and then finally overnight we get a little bit of a break, but new convection is expected to develop into Friday. So I'm not anticipating the extreme level of rain that we saw today on Friday, but I am going to look at the vorticity now. So on this vorticity, this is our storm energy right now. So by this evening, I don't want it to move. Right now, we're in this mess of storm energy, right? So a wave from the north comes in and we get a break overnight, but then into Friday morning, we're still dealing with some of the heavier rainfall and into Saturday morning. And then finally, by Sunday afternoon, we see less energy in the forecast, and that's when our rain starts to decrease, and we see big improvements in the forecast. But yeah, a lot of rain is still anticipated. A decent amount of rain is still on the way. So this is going to be through Sunday. Still a chance for 2 to 4 inches along the coastline, 1 to 3 inches from Highway 77 to the coastline, and then west of Highway 77, we're looking at about a quarter, 3/4 of an inch to 1 1/4 of an inch. So still today through Sunday, a decent amount of rain still expected in the forecast. Driving from Calallen to Airline. So the problem between Calallen and Airline specifically is going to be Highway 358. So MPID at Leopard is closed. It is completely submerged underwater. Avoid that area at all costs. That is the biggest area to avoid. Scott asked, any chance Sunday evening with no rain? Yes, it will become more isolated by Sunday evening. So Sunday, we're talking scattered to isolated throughout the day, and by Monday, we're saying goodbye to the rain, and by Tuesday, we are nice and hot and steamy and humid and sunny again next week. But now it's raining, and so Samantha, Calallen, the biggest issue you're going to run into is you've got to figure out a way to avoid Leopard at Highway 358. So I would go, at this point, I would go all the way down 37 to Crosstown in order to get into town from Calallen, if you absolutely have to. But I am going to take one last look at the radar. I'm going to check in on the chat that we have with the National Weather Service. So there haven't been any new updates since 11/16 when they continued the flash flood warning. So I believe, let's look at the current rainfall rates. So you see the really high peaks. That is the high intensity rate. We're seeing some of that over Falfurrias and between Kingsville and Alice right now. But across Corpus Christi, things are calming down, at least briefly. We're seeing much lower rainfall rates. And that will be the trend throughout the rest of the day. There's still thunderstorms developing inland. That's going to continue to be the case, but through the rest of the day, we are going to see the activity really starting to taper off a bit and lighten up and eventually move north and weaken. And so we should I'm still anticipating a break, but past 4 p.m. So 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., we really should start to see things clearing out, but this has been a lot of rainfall, y'all. So I really hope everyone stays safe. I hope this Facebook Live update was helpful for anyone that was watching. And so they did allow the flood advisory to expire at noon. So I am feeling optimistic that the flash flood warning will be allowed to expire at 12:30 for downtown Corpus Christi, North Beach, as well as Padre Island National Seashore. And then the Kingsville area, it's still actively raining. So this flood advisory will continue through at least 1 o'clock. And then that activity is showing signs of weakening. So that's a good thing. Everything is starting to show the signs of weakening except for this storm, but it'll be in the Gulf of Mexico, so we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, this is a big storm system, and we got the brunt of it today, and there are several areas of flooding, but the flash flood warnings are set to expire at 12:30. If for some reason something escalates between now and then, I will hop back on, but I'm going to leave you on this live radar imagery, and we are going to say goodbye. For KIII and 3 News, I'm meteorologist Carly Smith. Thank you so much for joining this live update.